Welcome to this video on an introduction to quadrilaterals and trapezoids. In this video, I'm going to go over the introduction to quadrilateral notes and the trapezoid notes. Okay, so a quadrilateral is a polygon with 4 sides. And there are special types of quadrilaterals. There are parallelograms, which is a quadrilateral with 2 pairs of opposite parallel sides, which is why it's called a parallelogram. And parallelograms include a rectangle, a rhombus, and a square. Another type of quadrilateral is a kite, and a kite is a quadrilateral with 2 pairs of adjacent congruent sides. And if you look at the picture below, you can see that. Remember, adjacent just means next to, so the top 2 sides are congruent and then the bottom 2 sides are congruent. And then a trapezoid is a quadrilateral with 1 pair of parallel sides. So as you can see in the picture, these would be parallel. And then there's a special type of trapezoid called an isosceles trapezoid, and it also has 1 pair of congruent sides. So here is the isosceles trapezoid. So here are the parallel sides, and then these sides are congruent. All right, and then the parallelograms, we will get more into those in another video, but parallelograms have 2 pairs of parallel sides. So these are parallel, and then these are parallel, and the parallel sides are always opposite from each other. And then the types of parallelograms are a rhombus, a rectangle, and a square, and they each have their own special properties too. For example, a rhombus, along with having opposite parallel sides, it also has all congruent sides. Same thing with a square, all congruent sides. And then a rectangle has opposite congruent sides. And we know a rectangle has right angles. And then a square also has right angles. All right, so those are some of the properties of quadrilaterals. Let's get into the specifics of trapezoids now. So as I said, a trapezoid is a quadrilateral with 1 pair of parallel sides. So these are parallel. The angles of a trapezoid, because it has 4 sides, sum to 360 degrees, just like all quadrilaterals. Okay, and then an isosceles trapezoid is a trapezoid with 2 congruent, we call them legs. So along with having the parallel sides, they also have congruent legs, which means this side and this side are exactly the same. The isosceles trapezoid also has some other special properties. For example, the lower base angles, which are here and here, they are congruent. And the upper base angles, and by base, I'm talking about the parallel sides. Those are the bases. So the base angles are the angles that are by the bases. They are also congruent. So let's label here. So this is a leg. This is a leg. The parallel sides are bases. All right, the diagonals of an isosceles trapezoid are also congruent. So here are my diagonals. Those are also congruent. All right, let's look at some examples for trapezoids. So number 1 says, find the measure of the missing angle. So because a trapezoid is a quadrilateral, the angles will sum to 360 degrees. So we just need to add the angles that we were given, 122 plus 58 plus 105, and that gives us 285. And then we're going to subtract that from 360 to see how many degrees we have left over, and that would be 75 degrees. All right, number 2 says, find x and y. So this is an isosceles trapezoid, so the legs will be the same, so y is going to be 10. And then the upper base angles will also be the same, so x will be 84 degrees. All right, number 3, the trapezoid is isosceles, solve for x. So if it's isosceles, these sides are equal, which means the expressions that represent the lengths of those sides will also be equal. So I can set these expressions equal to each other. I don't need the parentheses, and it doesn't matter which expression you write first. So let's see, I can subtract x from both sides. Then I can add 24 to both sides. Then I can divide both sides by 2. So 12 divided by 2, that means x equals 6. Okay, in the last example, it says AC, which is this diagonal here, is 3x minus 10. And BD is x plus 34. So those are the two diagonals. And in an isosceles trapezoid, the diagonals are congruent. That means I can set these expressions equal to each other. All right, pause the video now and see if you can solve for x by yourself. Okay, so I'm going to subtract x from both sides. Then I'm going to add 10 to both sides. All right, and then I'm going to divide by 2. So x equals 22. All right, let's continue on. Trapezoid notes continued. So let's talk about the mid-segment of a trapezoid. The mid-segment connects the midpoints, which just means the middle, of the two legs of a trapezoid. So this is my mid-segment here. And it's going to divide the sides in half. It's cutting them in half. If we want to find the length of the mid-segment, we need to find the average of the bases. So basically, you add the bases and you divide by 2, or take half. So 1/2, 10 plus 16, which is 26. Half of 26 is 13. So the length of that mid-segment is 13. All right, let's try some examples. So number 1, I want to take half of the sum of the bases. So that's half of 12, which is 6. All right, same thing on number 2. Find the average of the bases. I'm adding them up and dividing by 2. So half of 11, that is 5.5. Now, if you're given the mid-segment and you want to work backwards to find one of the bases, you want to start by writing the mid-segment, 12 equals, and then half the base plus the base. It doesn't matter which base you write first. All right, so you can solve this in a couple different ways. You can distribute that 1/2, or you can multiply by 2 on both sides to get rid of the 1/2. I'm going to just distribute it. And then subtract 4.5 from both sides. So 7.5 equals 1/2 x. And then I can multiply by the reciprocal, which is 2. So 7.5 times 2, that gives me 15. All right, pause the video now and try number 4 the same way that we did number 3. Okay, so I'm going to start with the mid-segment 6 equals 1/2 x plus 5. For this one, I'm going to solve it the other way. I'm going to just multiply by the reciprocal first to get rid of that 1/2. So 6 times 2 is 12. This cancels, and I just have x plus 5. This way is probably a little bit easier. And then I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, which gives me 7. All right, you can stop the video now and go ahead and complete trapezoids practice and check it with your teacher.